Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Fabulous. Going to be visiting with Carl Trelevin later in the program, and he's got a book called The Unexpected Perspective, and this is a book where atheists and Christians could come together. It's interesting because he's got a lot of the atheist beliefs and the Christian beliefs, and then he puts those together and shows how, you know what, you could both be right. So I'm really excited to visit with him. Also, we've got a quote for you today from Andy Rooney. I've always liked Andy Rooney. I just think he seems like a neat guy.
I always get him mixed up with Mickey Rooney.
No, Andy is the one that's on the TV show. Mickey Rooney was the actor. So Andy Rooney, though, says, everyone wants to live on top of the mountain, but all of the happiness and growth occurs while you're climbing it. Yeah, that's true. And sometimes you're going through struggles and you're going, oh man, this is awful. But then, funny thing is, later in life, you look back at those struggles and somehow refer to those as the good old days. So maybe the struggles aren't as bad as we really think they are. Or maybe they're worse. Who knows? Coming up, we've got some fun things happening today. We'll tell you all about that in a bit. Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
Thought you'd never ask. It's Monday, June the 5th. Today is Baby Boomers Recognition Day. So if you know a baby boomer, say, hey, I recognize you. Festival of Popular Delusions Day, Hot Air Balloon Day, National Moonshine Day, Thank God It's Monday Day, National Veggie Burgers Day, World Environment Day, and Apple II Day. I think this is the day that they unveiled the Apple II.
Okay.
So all of those things going on this Monday, the 5th day of June. So if you're not celebrating, you're doing something wrong. I think we need to celebrate. What one should we celebrate? Moonshine Day?
Have you ever had it? It's
you know
awful.
What? I actually did when I was just a little kid. I shouldn't even admit that. My dad had some friends that brought some moonshine over. And he goes, yeah, try it. And I tried it. I was like, apparently I just don't have the taste for that. So it tasted like paint thinner to me. All right, coming up, we got more fun stuff to share. That's on the way. I love watching TV shows and movies, but I hated seeing my monthly bill get higher and higher. All that money every month just to watch TV. Well, not anymore. We cut our cable. We were paying $185 a month for channels we didn't even watch. Now we pay for just the internet, and we save about $150 a month. And we still get to watch what we want, when we want, with no monthly fee. Learn how you can do this too at channelsurfertv.com. Watch the video there to learn how to watch movies and TV with no monthly fee. Do it today and save 50% at channelsurfertv.com. You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. How do you convince the DMV that you're a boy and not a girl when your birth certificate says you're a girl? That's the problem they had. A 16-year-old boy from California didn't realize that his birth certificate was wrong until he turned 16 and went to get his driver's license. And that's when the Department of Motor Vehicles in Sacramento said, your hospital-issued birth certificate, that's an acceptable form of ID, but this official birth certificate here, it says that you are a female. So he had to go, in spite of the physical evidence that he was a male, he had to go and get something changed. And here's the sad thing. They can't just change your birth certificates. They said, we can list you as a female, which would be wrong, or you can go have this form filled out. The only thing that he could do to not be listed as a female on his license would fill out a form that says that he had a sex change operation. Oh, there's more. His family thought the Department of Health Services, who made the error, could just fix the problem. Once again, despite the physical obvious evidence, they said, we cannot change a birth certificate, but we can attach an amendment that says that he is now a male. So his choices are either to be A, listed as a female, or B, listed as somebody who has had a sex change, all because somebody made a mistake 16 years ago on his birth certificate. And this is the problem. I think what we should do...
I don't know why you couldn't have that changed.
Apparently, because there's a law against changing a birth certificate, because when you're born, that's what you're born as. But the problem is...
But if there was a mistake...
Exactly. And there are mistakes on birth certificates. I don't want to say all the time, because I think that it's a lot better than it used to be. But I know there are people who, when they were born, their name was spelled wrong on their birth certificate, so their official spelling of their name is wrong.
Oh.
Even I have a sister that I'm pretty sure that's what happened because my sister Jody, it's Jodi, but Julie is Julie and Jamie is Jamie, and Jody was supposed to be Jodie, but it's just Jodi because it got spelled wrong. So anyway, you know it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
Each day at this time, we talk about people doing dumb things under the influence, but addiction is no laughing matter.
If you or someone you know needs help, there's a toll-free number you can call.
1-800-438-0380.
That's the Addiction Hope and Helpline.
1-800-438-0380.
And this is your brain on drugs. A German man has been fined $300 for driving a wheelchair under the influence. I didn't know that was a thing. But
I didn't either.
50-year-old man was on his way home when he saw some police officers and thought he'd have fun. He popped a wheelie in his wheelchair. Well, they pulled him over, and they smelled a strong odor of alcohol. After further testing, they discovered his blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit for driving. Police say he was driving in a wheelchair, in the road, about 5 miles an hour, weaving recklessly from one lane to another. He was booked and then given a ride home. If you're driving in the middle of the street, I can see where you could get a DUI. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, but I wonder why he would have chosen to drive down the middle of the street, and then why would he have chosen to pop a wheelie in front of the cops?
He was intoxicated.
Oh, yeah. 3 times the legal limit. That's why we call this segment Your Brain on Drugs.
John and Heidi.
Now your moment of duh. We head to Utah where we catch up with 39-year-old Tori Lee Castillo facing child abuse charges in what witnesses describe as an appalling incident. She locked her 2 children, ages 2 and 5, in the trunk of her car while she went in to shop at a local Walmart. Yeah, put them in the trunk of her car. Riverdale City Police Department got a call Thursday after a witness reported seeing her put the kids in the trunk. Utah police said the small children began making noises and moving frantically, causing the vehicle to shake. Fortunately, several Good Samaritans saw it happen and ran to aid the children. Police say those Good Samaritans coached the 5-year-old on how to open the trunk using the emergency latch from the inside. They said, do you see a glowing latch? Pull on that. Anyway, a witness said, I was shocked, I was shaken, and I was mad. Castillo was arrested as soon as she returned to the car.
Wow.
This has been your moment of duh, and I'm really glad that it ended the way it ended. It could have ended
that could have been
terribly.
very bad.
Why would you do that? I mean, if you think that it's a good idea to put your kids in the trunk of the car while you're shopping, maybe you need to sit down and think some things through, because that's a bad idea. All right, we've got your scoop of the day on the way.
John and Heidi.
If you promised yourself you'd lose weight before you went to the beach, that's still within reach. Get some help from a cool pink drink. Try it free at pinkdrinkfree.com. This pink drink tastes great and can help you lose weight. 8 out of 10 Americans are overweight. If you're tired of being one of them, we'd love to help. People around the country are experiencing amazing results with this pink drink, and you can try it before you buy it at pinkdrinkfree.com. That's pinkdrinkfree.com.
John and Heidi.
Now your scoop of the day. ABC News reports that 71% of children said they need a vacation. Really, kids? You get one. It's called summer. Imagine what
3 months.
71% of kids. I need a vacation. Really? Just wait. Someday you'll need a vacation and you won't get one. A survey by A survey by Nationwide Mutual Insurance, easy for me to say, found that 81% of Americans do something else while driving. So 81% of us do something, including talking on a phone, or texting, or checking email, or eating, or watching television, or doing their hair, or applying makeup, or shaving. Those were the top ones.
Okay, so I will have to say I've eaten while I've been driving.
I've talked on the phone while driving. I've never watched TV while driving. I've never done my hair. I've never applied makeup. I've never shaved. I've never checked email. There's a lot of those that I haven't done. But yeah, I'm guilty of talking on the phone. But and eating, because I'm always eating.
Yeah.
Your dad was giving me guff once because I was drinking. I had a gallon jug. This is something I learned when I was a kid. We would freeze like half of it with water and then fill the rest of it with water. So you'd have like ice in there, and it would be ice cold water. We'd use that when we'd be out mowing lawns and stuff. So anyway, I had this gallon jug, and I was driving down the road drinking out of a gallon jug. When I happened to drive by your dad, he's like, what's that idiot doing? Driving around drinking out of a gallon jug.
Yeah, that's probably not super safe.
Looking back, that may have been a bad idea. Hey, a Florida woman was arrested for assaulting her ex with an order of pork fried rice.
Okay.
How'd that happen? She apparently threw it at him. 2 South Carolina men were charged with harassing an alligator. Oh, we already talked about that. This is where they forced him to drink a beer.
Yeah.
I've got too many sources for these stories, so now I'm reading some of the stuff twice. In Massachusetts, a man got some bad news. A judge has denied his request to juggle during his trial to show jurors that he was just clowning around when he allegedly tried to rob a convenience store.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, juggle. In his court petition, he wrote of himself, "The keystone to my defense is, I'm literally a clown." But a judge said, no way. He's pled not guilty to charges that he used a toy gun to try to rob a convenience store in December. The 20-year-old man who is representing himself asked the judge that he allowed to juggle 3 wads of paper for 20 seconds to show jurors, see, I'm just a clown. And an attempted robbery was a misunderstanding. I had a toy gun, and I was not trying to rob the place. So I would kind of like to see where that goes.
Yeah, and when you go up and say, give me all your money with a toy gun, that's not being funny. That's...
Well, it's funny, but just not ha-ha funny. It's like, well, there's something wrong with this guy funny. You work hard to earn vacation days, but when time comes to use them, American workers are not using them. A study from Expedia says the average worker is expected to earn less days off this year, down 14 from 15, but will only take 12 of those days anyway. So for some reason, we're going to have less vacation coming in 2017 than we've had in the past year, but we're not going to use it all anyway. The average person uses 12 of their 14 or 15 days. A study from the Journal of Applied Psychology makes the case that companies are wasting their ad budgets when advertising during violent or sexually explicit programming. The study claims that overstimulating the brain with sexual or violent images basically shuts off part of the brain where the information contained in the commercials that follow would actually be stored. So they're saying you're wasting your money. And, I agree with that. Almost 4 out of 10 Americans between the ages of 18 and 24 say their parents are involved in the search for employment for them. So they're 18 to 24-year-olds are saying, Mom and Dad are trying to help me find a job.
Yeah.
Because you're living on Mom and Dad's
you're not
sofa.
looking for a job.
Over-invested parents are doing everything from taking their kids to the job interview and sitting next to them to writing their thank you notes after an interview. If they get the job, is she going to come with too?
That's a bit much. I mean, I could see you saying, hey, apply here.
We hired Michael, but for some reason his mother keeps coming in. She was here for the interview. I didn't think we hired her. All right, this has been your Scoop of the Day.
John and Heidi.
How long's it been since you've been on vacation?
Way too long.
Well, we're going to Punta Cana this November for a cool event called 80s in the Sand.
I'm so looking forward to just being able to relax during the day. All day, every day for 7 full days. And, as a bonus, get to hear some awesome music at night.
You can also meet some 80s icons like Anthony Michael Hall, Andrew McCarthy, and many more.
Get all the details at 80sinthesand.com.
Use promo code RADIO to get a $200 immediate refund per person.
That website again is 80sinthesand.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We got a special guest joining us today. We have Carl Trelevin. He's got a new book out, and the book is called The Unexpected Perspective. Carl, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. I hope you are too.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. And this book, this is a fairly new book. Is this your first, or have you done other books before this?
It is my first book.
All right, so this is the first. Now, you got like 10 more in your mind that you're going to write, don't you?
Of course.
That's the way it works. When you get that first one done, you're like, okay, now where am I going? But let's talk about this. What was the idea behind the book when you were working on The Unexpected Perspective? Give us a little background and how this came about.
Sure. Well, the book is about Charles Darwin and the Big Bang Theory. And Darwin's theory came out over 150 years ago. And if you think about it, the Christian church for 150 years has been arguing about this, but hasn't come up with any kind of a consistent position concerning it. And the problem that's created, first, is an awful lot of people have left the church, especially young people, and when opportunities to talk about important scientific issues have come up, then Christians have talked about this, and they missed an opportunity to talk about a lot of other important things. And finally, it's really created a turnoff for a lot of people who are, science, well-educated and science-focused about the church. So my feeling is, after 150 years, need to come up with some way to really address this question and provide an answer that's consistent with the Bible, consistent with science, and is going to be satisfying.
Absolutely. And you're saying you don't have to choose between science and religion because there's a bridge between the two that is a very perfectly good bridge, and that's kind of what this book really talks about.
Yes, the idea that you have to make a choice between either being religious, faithful, or be a scientist is completely false. It's just unrealistic. You can be both simultaneously.
So when you were working on this, did you kind of have a goal for this book? It was to kind of pull those two sides together and get them talking?
Well, in particular, I wanted to try and overcome this divide that's arisen about it. And my basic belief is this, is non-Christians and scientists have been trying to get Christians to, say, accept the science for a long period of time. And I make the following argument. Well, maybe the reason we haven't is because no one's given us a really good reason we ought to believe it. We've been given scientific reasons, but a lot of people question whether that fits with what the Bible says. So my thought was, well, could there be reasons that Christians would actually want to believe what's in there? And the reason they would want to believe it is if somehow what Darwin was saying actually reinforced things Christians already believed. And in fact, that's what I do in the book. I come up with 5 reasons Christians shouldn't just accept these ideas. They ought to love them. I mean, bear hug, embrace them. And even so far as to say they ought to love it more than atheists do.
Huh. I'm excited to read more about this because that's fascinating to me. But can you tell us at least one of those reasons?
Sure. Actually, the 2 most basic ones have to do with what Christians believe. And that has to do with, for Christians, obviously, the key thing is Jesus Christ. The question is why was it necessary for Jesus to come to earth, live, die, be crucified, and then rise from the dead? And the reason is really twofold. One is because of sin, original sin, and that sin being transmitted to every subsequent human. And then the idea that, we're sinful, but we can't perfect ourselves. In other words, we can't overcome it ourselves. Well, my argument is Darwin actually provides a good explanation for why those 2 things are true. Oh. Christians have never really had that before. Never, it's purely been a matter of faith that Adam and Eve, whenever they lived, maybe 150,000 years ago, sinned, and therefore the stain of that has come to every single one of us, and we can't overcome it. I described it, it's what's called the mechanism of transmission. In other words, how does it get transmitted from one to the next and get stuck?
Well, there you go.
Darwin's really your explanation.
Huh. That makes sense. I hadn't thought of it that way.
So, yeah, and the book really explores the reasons why I think that's the case. Well, if suddenly then, if you have those 2 things, then it really changes what Christians would think about it. Now, let me then get to the other 3 reasons. They follow from the first 2. The third one is it provides a better way to do evangelism, particularly for well-educated people. Yeah. So you think a person wants to evangelize someone else, and they go to them, and you have to ask yourself, well, where do you turn to for all the claims that Christians make? And it's the Bible. But what if the person you're trying to evangelize thinks the Bible is rubbish, that it's just a bunch of hocus pocus? Well, you don't really have any way to start the conversation. And my argument is things like Darwin and the Big Bang Theory actually provide the basis for starting a conversation.
There you go.
So that's the third reason. The fourth reason is the old problem of what do you teach in public schools? And we know for the last 100 years, people have been arguing about this. They say, Christians are afraid if they teach, Darwinism and that type of science, that children will be turned off by faith. And then likewise, people on the other side say, well, if you teach things like intelligent design, well, you're not teaching good science. And this actually provides a way to span that. So you can teach good science and actually show the real distinction between religion and science. And one last reason. The fifth reason actually is it provides a set of things that Christians can use to talk against secular humanism. One of the great fears is, the country is becoming increasingly secular humanist. What's the Christian response? My argument is this book provides arguments that they can use to counter secular humanist arguments. So that's a real fast summary of the five reasons why I think Christians really ought to love it.
Well, that's cool, and you're right, very fast. But I appreciate you giving us all five of those. I was expecting just one, but that's really cool. And the nice thing is this is a conversation now that you can have. When you have all the information, you can have a conversation with people who maybe in the past you thought you were on different sides. They're saying, well, I believe in what the Bible tells me, and I believe the faith part, and there are others that say, I believe the science part, and before you thought you were on different sides, but what you're saying is, you guys not necessarily on the different sides. If you look at it correctly, those two things could both be correct, and there's room for both of you to be right, and there's some common ground to have a great conversation.
Right. Another point that I make, in fact, even in chapter 1, is that the Bible itself is not a science textbook. And you can show why it isn't. And because it's not a science textbook, that helps you avoid this idea that, that when you read the Bible that you're reading bad science, which is where I think a lot of people go wrong on this thing. It's clearly was never intended to be a science textbook.
Absolutely. Again, our guest right now, Carl Trelevin. He is the author of The Unexpected Perspective. Now, the book is available right now. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. I think you can also get it on Barnes & Noble. And you can get it from the publisher, which is Westbow Press, which is a division of Thomas Nelson Zondervan.
Very nice. And we'll throw a link to it on our Facebook page as well to make it really easy for folks to find. Carl, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us today.
My pleasure. Nice to talk with you too, John.
Again, Carl Trelevin, author of The Unexpected Perspective. It's a fantastic idea for a book because in the past, again, if you're on one side or the other side, you felt like you disagree with each other, but this is a way to say, hey, we actually have some common ground. We got a lot we can talk about, and we can both be right, and I love that. That's a really cool thing. So thank you very much for taking the time to put that book together.
Nice to talk with you, John.
Again, Carl Trelevin. The book is called The Unexpected Perspective, and if you'd like to learn more, I've got a link to it at facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Would you like custom t-shirts for an event or sports team? We understand that usually the budget's not unlimited. We have full-color custom printed t-shirts for just $7 each. That's one of the best prices you'll find anywhere. No minimum orders, so you can print just one or print 1,000. The price is just $7 per shirt with a minimal setup fee per design. Make the memories of your next event last forever or help your team look amazing with a little help from CustomShirtInc.com. That's CustomShirtInc.com.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
It takes 18 minutes to cool Hershey's chocolates into a kiss. So when they smooch down on the conveyor,
I love Hershey Kisses.
18 minutes is how long it takes for them to cool completely. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The term Beatlemania was coined after the Beatles appeared at the Palladium. So it was after they appeared at the Palladium, wherever that is. That's when the term Beatlemania came out. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
In The Karate Kid, Daniel had to paint Miyagi's house green as part of his training. So our son was just talking about that because
I remember him painting house.
Talking about wax on, wax off, and he's like, "That's the only one." People always, wax on, wax on. Why not paint the house?
Yeah.
Why not, sweep the floor or whatever? I was like, I don't know, because wax on, wax off is more fun. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The gill, lateral line, and dorsal fin are all parts of a fish. Yeah. And our final fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Michelangelo designed the uniform worn by the Swiss Guard at the Vatican. So the uniform they wear was designed by Michelangelo. And that is a fun fact brought to you by our good friends at channelsurfertv.com. Movies and TV with no monthly fee. That's channelsurfertv.com.
John and Heidi.
If you promised yourself you'd lose weight before you went to the beach, that's still within reach. Get some help from a cool pink drink. Try it free at pinkdrinkfree.com. This pink drink tastes great and can help you lose weight. 8 out of 10 Americans are overweight. If you're tired of being one of them, we'd love to help. People around the country are experiencing amazing results with this pink drink, and you can try it before you buy it at pinkdrinkfree.com. That's pinkdrinkfree.com.
John and Heidi.
Heidi, are you ready for some medical myths?
Sure.
Kind of fun to say, medical myths. 7 medical myths identified by the British Medical Journal that will no doubt stun you. And at least you'll know that these are true because they say they're medical myths, so maybe they're not. It says you should drink at least 8 glasses of water a day. No, they say that advice is actually a myth. That's not for real. They say drinking too much water can actually be harmful, so you want to be careful how much you really do drink. We only use 10% of our brains. Yeah, whoever told you that, maybe, is only using 10% of their brains. They say a detailed probing of the brain has never revealed the non-functioning 90%, so they don't know exactly what that is. Another medical myth, fingernails and hair continue to grow after you die. No, that's not true. But they say this was perpetuated by Johnny Carson because it was something that was on his show. But they say that, no, it does not continue to grow forever and ever and ever. Shaved hair grows back faster, coarser, and darker. Have you ever heard that? I heard that when I was a kid.
I have heard that, and I believe it to be
because they would
true.
say, if you want to, you're like a 11-year-old kid wanting to grow a mustache. Oh, you got to shave that. And you're like, I got one hair. I don't want to shave that off. No, you got to shave it. It'll come back thicker.
I will say that I believe that just because of my son's hair.
But here's the thing. It's because he's growing up and he's getting older. That's what happened. So it has so much less to do with that.
No, because his hair was soft and light, and now it's like a Brillo
It
pad.
is. We could use him to scrub pans in the kitchen.
It's crazy. I've never felt hair like that in my life.
It's like more like a brush. Reading in dim light will ruin your eyes. Moms have told you that for a long time. That's a medical myth as well. Eating turkey makes you drowsy. Well, there's some tryptophan in there, but you would need to eat a whole lot of turkey for that to knock you out. And the last one, mobile phones are dangerous in hospitals. No, hospitals have signs all over. It's not because they're dangerous, but because it's rude and there's people in there
are trying to rest.
Yeah, so and the noises, so it has more to do with noise than anything else. So a couple of medical myths for you right there on this Monday edition of the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
I love watching TV shows and movies, but I hated seeing my monthly bill get higher and higher. All that money every month just to watch TV. Well, not anymore. We cut our cable. We were paying $185 a month for channels we didn't even watch. Now we pay for just the internet, and we save about $150 a month. And we still get to watch what we want, when we want, with no monthly fee. Learn how you can do this too at channelsurfertv.com. Watch the video there to learn how to watch movies and TV with no monthly fee. Do it today and save 50% at channelsurfertv.com.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. An unidentified 22-year-old man is taking a driver's test with a licensed examiner in the Netherlands when he got stuck on the railroad track. The driver and the examiner ran for safety just before a train rampaged the car. Boom! Dragged it 150 meters down the track. The car came right back to them. A second train coming the other way smacked into the car and pushed it back to them. Can you imagine that?
Not at all.
So you're sitting there and you're like, we're stuck on the tracks and there's a train barreling down on you. You got to leap out. Your car gets hit, thrown that way 150 meters, and then another train hits it and throws it right back at you another 150 meters. Do you think you passed the test? They both got out safely, so I don't know. You got to get some points for that. A couple of fun things we're going to share here in a bit. We're going to talk about the world's lightest satellite made by an 18-year-old. Yeah, they're going to send this thing into space. We'll tell you all about it in a bit.
John and Heidi.
I think this kid should get extra credit, Heidi. A teenager literally reached for the stars, and it looks like he made it. An 18-year-old from India built the world's lightest satellite, and NASA is going to send this little thing into space. Rifa Shahrukh, maybe. I probably got all that wrong. I apologize. Created a 4 centimeter, so that's like 1.5 inch, 3D printed cube that weighs 2.25 ounces, making it lighter than an iPhone. And this is going to be the lightest satellite in the history of the world. And they're sending this thing into space. And And I've got a link to this story on our Facebook page so you can see it and you can feel it and you can touch it. Okay, you can't feel it. You can't touch it. But you can see it if you go to facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
How long's it been since you've been on vacation?
Way too long.
Well, we're going to Punta Cana this November for a cool event called 80s in the Sand.
I'm so looking forward to just being able to relax during the day. All day, every day for 7 full days. And, as a bonus, get to hear some awesome music at night.
You can also meet some 80s icons like Anthony Michael Hall, Andrew McCarthy, and many more.
Get all the details at 80sinthesand.com.
Use promo code RADIO to get a $200 immediate refund per person.
That website again is 80sinthesand.com.
John and Heidi.
Heidi, have you ever heard of ARIA learning in school? ARIA? ARIA?
I've seen it. I don't know, but I think so.
What ARIA learning is, it says sentencing young offenders to listen to music they don't like seems to be catching on. Eastern Connecticut State University in Hartford decided to try this tactic. It's ARIA learning, where they had students who were breaking campus rules. The punishment, though, does not seem to be working the way they planned. One student was sentenced to watch a production of Tosca, Tosca. Do you know what that is?
No.
Must be a play or something.
No clue. Probably a musical.
He was caught drinking beer in his dorm room, and his reaction was, "It was awesome. I love the show." Another student said, "It's definitely not punishment. It's a privilege." And at least one student in the audience was there voluntarily, so he enjoyed his sentence to watch the magical flute last semester, that he now goes to the opera regularly. He's like, "I go all the time. This is really cool." So they're going to, they get in trouble and they make them watch. But you know what?
That's not a bad thing, because if they're being exposed to culture
yeah.
then maybe they'll be less likely to act up.
One time.
I mean, you don't see a lot of gang members going to the opera. So.
I remember you and I went to an opera house one time. There was a quartet that was playing, and my wife over here and I, we are not cultured people. So we were invited by some really nice people. We were new in this community at the time, in the community that this was in. It's in a different state, but we were invited there, and I said, "Oh, we got to go. This will be really nice." Meet some people, and they're really nice people, very professional. Everybody around us was professional. We're all dressed up really nice, and we sit down and we start watching, and it was the same 4 instruments for every song. There were no words, and the guy would say, "This song is called Reflections." Boom, ba-doom, 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 ba-doom. And then the next song, you'd say, "This song is called Revival." Boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. It was, every song sounded the same. And then Heidi was snickering because she thought it was funny. She's like, "All these songs sound exactly the same."
I was, and for me,
suppressed
laughter is
the worst.
I just can't handle it.
Well, and
I had tears going down my face,
bad.
and I was giggling.
And then they take an intermission. He says, "During the intermission, we're going to have a copy of our album in the entryway if you'd like to stop out and purchase one." And Heidi says to me, "Do you suppose it's a single?" We did not come back after the intermission.
No, we didn't, because
thank the good Lord.
People were glaring at us.
And thank the good Lord, we had a small child at home at the time. Our daughter was like maybe a year old at the time.
Yeah.
So we had a very good excuse. We're like, "Oh, you know what? Our daughter, we should really get home. We haven't been out this late in a long time, so we got to go." And I'm pretty sure the people with us were like, "We're really glad you're leaving." Kids have been laughing through this whole thing. Coming up, we've got some good news to share. That's on the way.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always try to wrap up with good news, and I think this is good news. Listen to this, Heidi. Crime is drying up in Japan, leaving the Japanese police force to hunt for something to do.
Oh, that's good.
Japan has over 259,000 uniformed officers. That's 15,000 more than they had a decade ago at the same time. So keep in mind, this last decade, they added 15,000 police officers, and the crime rate has dropped. At the same time, crime rates have been falling for 13 years now. The murder rate is 0.3 per 100,000 people. That's the lowest in the world. Only one gun slang was recorded in the entire country in 2015.
I wonder what they're doing differently.
This means plenty of attention for crimes that would maybe be considered petty for other investigators, but they have a lot of police. I actually read through the story. I've got a link to it on our Facebook page if you want to read it. Facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. one of the things that they do is they have all these officers patrolling on foot.
Yeah, if there's more officers around at all times.
There's an officer in sight at almost all times. So if there's something going on, you can say, "Excuse me, officer," and he's just walking. They're like on foot.
Yeah.
And they had a name for him. I don't remember what it's called now, but it was basically something like Men on Foot. Is what they're and they're just patrolling the neighborhoods, and all that patrolling is paid off because there's hardly any crime.
Yeah, that's pretty
But those
cool.
officers are probably bored. They're like, "Well, this is terrible. I'll just walk around doing nothing all day." Because the officers that I know, they talk, when we get together, they never talk about it was such a boring day Sunday. It's like, oh, we had this high-speed pursuit.
Yeah.
Got to chase this guy through this park. And you never hear the stories
That's
about,
interesting.
well, I got to scold a
Maybe
child
we
for
should up
jaywalking.
our police
There you go.
force.
If you'd like to read the story, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great Monday. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Time now for the bonus break on the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. I've got a travel expert on the line with me, Sarah Gavin. We're going to be talking about the hot spots for people to be going this summer. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. Although I wish I was in a great hot spot right now.
So you're not somewhere fancy and fun right now? You're just at home? Is that where you are?
You know what? I am in the very cold, very rainy city of Seattle, and I wish that I could be on the warm beaches of Mexico.
Well, you know what? I know somebody that can help you do that. Oh, wait, that's you. So now, Mexico is kind of the hot spot this time of year?
You know what? It really is. You know, what we're seeing is that Mexico is increasingly popular this year. You know, even places like Mexico City are about 11% more popular this year than they were last year. And that's really true across the board. Obviously, you know, Cancun continues to be the most popular destination, but, you know, Los Cabos, Puerto Vallarta are very, very popular.
I've been to Cancun, never been to Los Cabos or Puerto Vallarta, so maybe one of these days we'll have to go there.
Oh, you know what? We go to Los Cabos all the time. It's one of my favorite places on earth.
And I've been to Acapulco as well, and that was interesting. You know, so there's, I'll tell you what, the nice thing about traveling to Mexico, they've got these beautiful resort towns where, you know, almost anything you can think of, you can do, and especially if you just want to relax. It's a beautiful place to go and relax, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. You know, Mexico has it all. We just did this big survey of Americans and how they want to travel this summer and what they prioritize, and it's, you know, they prioritize price, things to do, and weather. And Mexico checks all those boxes. You know, there are amazing deals to go to Mexico. We have a ton of things to do on the Expedia site, and we actually just launched this new program where if you log into Expedia before you search for something to do, you can get special discounts that are for members only. And all you have to do to be a member is like have an email account with us. So it's pretty simple. But you can go, you know, get deals on like archaeological sites and snorkeling with whale sharks and things like that. And then obviously it's got, you know, weather like nobody else.
And the thing that's neat about that is, you know, the things you were just talking about, those are the things that really make your trip memories that last forever. You know, if you're going to just go lay on the beach, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you do those little excursions and go have fun and get to see things that, you know, that maybe you wouldn't have seen just laying on the beach, that's where you kind of cement these memories for life, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, it really is. I took my kids down to Mexico a couple of months ago, and we did zip lining and camel riding, and whale watching, and it was, you know, these moments that they'll just never forget. It was really, really, you know, that's what vacation's for, right?
Absolutely. If you would like to go on vacation and go somewhere fun, Expedia can definitely help. You guys can send them pretty much anywhere in the world, can't you?
Yeah, we've got, you know, 385,000 hotels all over the world.
And if you're looking for travel, whether it's airline, if you want to go on a cruise, if you want to go stay in a fancy resort, you can find all of that stuff in one place. And again, our guest right now, travel expert Sarah Gavin, she gets to travel the world and gets to go all kinds of fun places. And you said you've recently been to Mexico. This is kind of the hot spot right now. Is there one of those communities that you talked about that is your favorite, you know, between Cancun, Los Cabos, Puerto Vallarta? Is there one that's kind of like Sarah Gavin's hot spot?
So there's two places that I love. One is Los Cabos. You know, it's just this ridiculously beautiful desert. It's that, you know, great dry heat, and just so friendly and really, really well developed. That's on the Pacific side of Mexico. And then the other area that I love is a little bit of a hidden gem. It's called Riviera Maya. It's about 45 minutes south of Cancun on the Caribbean side of Mexico. And you get all of the sort of great Caribbean vibe that you get with Cancun, but it's much quieter, much more hidden away. You know, you can get these just beautiful, you know, really tropical hotels with, you know, all kinds of beautiful fish and beautiful birds, and it's just it's nature and Mexico, and everything wonderful all wrapped into one.
My brother and sister-in-law have been there, and they also thought that was just a really cool place. So
yeah, it's fantastic. And the best thing, if you're looking to go to Mexico, you've heard me talk before about these package deals, right? Where you pick your flight, you pick your hotel, and you book them together. And in general, no matter where you're going, you can save hundreds of dollars doing that. But at a place like Mexico, you can save 25% off your trip. And, if you're looking at a family going to Mexico, that can be in the, $1,500 range to save money on your trip. That's a ton of money. And Mexico's a really unique place for those kind of package savings.
That's awesome. Now, for people who are planning on going on vacation, how far in advance should they start planning, and how far in advance should they start booking things?
You really want to be at least 21 days out. If you're about 21 days in advance, you'll save about 11% on your trip. And then, if you can be more like 58 to 90 days out, you'll save an additional 10% off. So, the further out, the better. But once you get past that 90-day mark, it's sort of diminishing returns.
Okay. Well, my beautiful bride, Heidi, my wife that does the radio show with me, the two of us are going to be going to Punta Cana in November. I've never been to Punta Cana, but we're going for 80s in the Sand, which is going to be a really, really cool week-long concert event. So we haven't gotten our tickets yet. We keep, we got the tickets at the resort. We're already set to go to that, but we've been kind of keeping our eye on airline tickets. So you're telling me 21 days out is kind of the magic, somewhere between 90 and 21 days out?
Yeah, absolutely. Once you get closer than 21 days, you're going to pay for your last minute planning. But I will tell you, you'll love Punta Cana. It's one of the most popular international destinations for American travelers. Very, very safe, very, very beautiful. You're going to have an amazing time.
We're excited. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us again.
Of course. Thanks for having me, and safe travels.
And if people would maybe like to go and find some awesome last-minute deals or find some, 21-day out deals so they get the best prices, where do they go? Is it just Expedia.com, or is there something special they click when they get there?
Just go to Expedia.com, and you'll see Mexico all plastered all over the site. So you'll be able to find it pretty easily.
Well, thank you again, Sarah. You have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Travel expert Sarah Gavin, and she is with Expedia. And tell you what, if you're looking to go somewhere fun, they've got all the hot spots on there. Make it really easy. Just go to one spot, Expedia.com. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.